Good morning to everybody. Namaskara. I don't want to waste my time in introducing myself. I'm an abstract painter. In the sense, I paint abstracts. So today is the topic is semantics of a semi-abstraction. So earlier, ಎರಡು chapter ಆಗಿದೆ, and this was dealt by Mr. Prakash from Kalamandir. He spoke about how it started from the prehistoric times and to the present, where he went into the details of threshold of modern art and then the modern art period and postmodernism and the times when pop art was very popular, and he came up to the point of abstraction. And there are two episodes which he had done. I don't know how many of you attended in this. And then the third one was about how you look at a painting. Like how do you ಕಾಣೋದು, that is ನೋಡೋದು, and what is ಕಾಣೋದು. That means it's the viewing means you just see the sky and just like that, you just ಆಕಾಶ ನೋಡ್ತೀರಾ. But to question yourself what is there in the sky, and you see something beyond that dimension, that is what you have to see into that painting. He explained with some examples. So first thing is, I would like to say what is semantics. What is semantics? Semantics it's a simple term. Semantic philosophy is a theory. It's just like any theory, but it's a theory which explains the philosophy behind a painting. Now what happens, this is the fine line drawn, it's a fine line drawn between realism and abstraction. See, if you got realism alli you make still life. Still life alli this conceptual still life also is there. Conceptual still life means, supposing Picasso, he did a still life, he says bottle, glass and violin. So bottle is a metaphor, glass. Bottle, glass and violin. Bottle is again, it's a glass, made of glass, which is fragility. Violin is music. Bottle, glass and violin is something, he refers to something socially happening during that period. So a still life, when you just paint with a glass, bottle with the apple and all that, it becomes just realistic painting. There's no meaning to it. So when you add a metaphoric meaning, or there is a hidden symbol or meaning, then you go into the philosophy of the semantics. So semantic philosophy is nothing but, it's about the theory which is backed by semi-abstraction is nothing but, when there is form content involved in it and there are metaphors and symbols, it becomes semi-abstraction. So abstraction is not, people think abstraction in the sense, if it's pure abstraction, it has no form content at all. But when it is semi-abstraction, it has a form content. But in semi-abstraction, why they say semi-abstraction is because the form content has something to be explained. So when there is something to be explained, the form content has a content which has to be explained, then it becomes semi-abstraction. So now what we'll do is, in terms of Eastern and Western, we will discuss about this. So particularly students should take note of it, because instead of more viewing the paintings and all that, if they are able to gather some points from that, and it will help them in their career and all that, So semantics of semi-abstraction is that semantics is the theory and the philosophy hidden behind all the form contents, explained as an abstraction. So where there is no explanation, if I just draw a portrait, there's nothing, it's expressive. You see supposing you see Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa is not semi-abstraction, because you see a certain expression in that and you get a feel. But where there is a meaning to it, the painter has given a hidden metaphor, like he gives it as a social narrative or something like that, then it becomes a semi-abstraction. So in the end of the session, we'll have the discussion about that. And so see here, I would like to chant a sloka from the Sanskrit sloka, which says, Agni Devaya Vidmahe Sarva Samanaya Dhimahe Tanno Agni Prachodayat. Now Agni Devaya is the Agni, the god of Agni. So why they worship the god of Agni is because you have to go into the Vedic period if you have to know how the abstract elements started from the Vedic time. Now, when you take the West, I will say where the West got intercepted with that. But here, so the fire god was worshipped. So Agni, when you say Agni, is it not an abstract form? See, if there is a fire, it doesn't have any form. There's no form content as such in a fire. It can take any shape. So fire is formless. So again, if you take water, water has no form unless you put it into, you say glass of water, but then it takes the shape of a glass. If it's in an ocean, it's an ocean of water, it takes the shape of an ocean. So water also has no shape. So you can see all these elements which are also worshipped in Hindu, as Hindu deities. I'm not talking about the religion, it's about the deities. So in Hindu deities, you see earth also as Bhuma Devi, and then water was the water, and then fire god, sun and all that, air, and Akash and the, Vayu and all that. So these elements started from the Vedic time to create the forms of the. So here you see it says, according to Linga Purana, the lingam is a complete symbolic representation of the formless universe bearer. The oval-shaped stone is the symbol of the universe, and the bottom base represents the supreme power that holds the entire universe in it, he says. So you can see the linga, the Paramashiva and the Parashakti shows. So that is the entirety of the male and the female concept. So it started with this kind of form where you see the abstraction, but it is also semi-abstraction because it is supported by a theory. You need an explanation, or without an explanation you can know. Some of us know that even without an explanation, but those who have to, if you are unable to gather the message, then such people need an explanation to it. Now, Hindu pantheon, a group of gods or group of important people. When I say important people, the Devas, even if you take this Rama or Krishna and all that, they were just, they were just humans. But they were considered as gods because of certain aspects. So Hindu pantheon is nothing but the deities, the images, the Kali and other images which are there, which are in the temples. So So Hindu pantheon is nothing but the deities which were involved in, which were put into the temples and all that. Those deities were worshipped as gods. Now, if you come to the iconography is nothing but which explains the metaphors hidden in the deities. So that is again semi-abstraction. This is how semi-abstraction started, because those days what happened, it was the Stone Age. We never had stainless steel, plastic and all that, so it was the Stone Age. So from the Stone Age, we came to the Bronze Age and the Iron Age. So that's why you find bronze sculptures also during that period. So this is how in India it started from here. Until such time, there was a change. I'll tell you when the change occurred. So here if you see the Navagrahas, the Westerners say it's 9 planets. They don't call it by Navagrahas. So they say Sun, Moon, Pluto, Saturn, Pluto, Uranus and all that. But we call it as Surya, Chandra, Angaraka, Buddha, Guru, Sukra, Sanishwara, Ragu and Ketu. So Surya has got that, so it has the symbolism started from here. From the sun god, it started developing. So here you see Dattatreya. The image of Dattatreya has the Shiva, Brahma and the Vishnu. All the 3 aspects put together. And you see the 4 dogs here, they are the Chaturvedas. So the Chaturveda is Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharvana Veda, where the Rig Veda was represented by a white dog. Because Rig Veda was supposed to be one of the highest principles among the Vedas, so it was shown as a white dog. And Atharvana was shown as a black dog. So many of the tantric paintings and all that came from the Atharva inspiration, where there was the occult and all that. So how the occult in art developed in the Western countries, which gave rise to semi-abstractions and abstraction is another thing we'll deal with in another chapter, but presently we'll deal with the semi-abstractions here. So in Dattatreya you see that, and cow also, it's a sacred image which is supposed to be it gives everything, like, Kamadhenu and all that. So this is how, during the iconography is the meaning. Just now I spoke about so this is the Hindu pantheon, which is the deity itself. But the iconography is all this. So when you take the dogs, the Dattatreya image and all that, all of this put together, in total sum, it becomes the Gestalt. Gestalt is nothing but a group of metaphors which communicate a singular meaning. So you see the Saraswati here. When you see the Saraswati, she is seated with the veena. The purpose of putting the veena is itself symbolic. So it's a semi-abstract. But the thing is, it was done during the Ravivarma's period, when the Western art did not come to that terminology of semi-abstraction. We never had what is called as modern art or anything like that. It was a later development. So you can see here the Saraswati is. Now why I wanted to show the paint, I have to stay here, is it? Yeah. Now why I wanted to show the painting of B.K.S. Verma is, if you see Ravi Verma painted all these images. I mean the gods and goddesses and all, Lakshmi and all that he painted. But in Ravi Verma's painting, you see Mahavishnu. I don't want to go into too much of details. This is nothing but the universe. It represents the universe. See, in the thing is, it's all same. See, in Islamic culture, they say Allah, they say the entire universe. We put it in a representational form. So he is nothing but Mahavishnu, who is lying on the Kshirosagra, which is the Milky Ocean. And then from the Nabi, the Brahma is coming from the Nabi. The Brahma is, the Brahma is seen. Sir, varta idya? Hello? Yeah? Yeah. So, adu paragilla bidi. I'll just say. So the Brahma, you see from the Nabi, the Brahma is there, which is nothing but the earth. Brahma represents the creative force. So he is shown as the earth and Lakshmi and all that, all the symbolism. So it becomes a Gestalt altogether, but individually each has got a metaphor or a symbolic meaning, reference to it. Now why I am showing Ravi Verma as an extension of Verma, which many people have not noticed it. During lifetime, perhaps Verma himself did not know. He was my friend, but still he did not know what it was. Now you can see that he has given an extension. Ravi Verma has not given, but Verma has given it, you can see here. See, he has not put there. In the Nabi, the Brahma is not there, but he has shown the earth as a globe, and it has become little bit abstract. It's modern version of it. So therefore, he has given an extension which he himself did not know, but he knew the metaphoric significance that Brahma is the earth, and therefore he put the earth at the background. Similarly, see, when you see here the Naga, this is the stone image which was created as a Hindu pantheon. So the iconographic meaning is Naga Devata. They worship as the snakes are. In India, they say there are some 33 million gods. So we have Ishta Devata also. Each one of us practice Ishta Devata. Now each one of us could have a particular Devata whom we worship. So Naga Devata also was worshipped like that. Now what happened, some 30, 40 years back, I think more than that, I met Stephen Cox in Chennai. In fact, he came to my show, and then he was working in Mahabalipuram in Chennai, and he was doing sculpture. He gave an extension to Indian sculpture. And then he had exhibited this at the International Triennale, and we ourselves acknowledged it, that he is one of the forerunners who extended. He gave an extension to the sculptures, the Hindu pantheon. He gave a newer version and then projected that as a modern Indian work. And now the world established that Stephen Cox was the one he established. But I can tell there is an Indian artist also who did it. He was not known, that's it. Many Indian artists have done it already. See, now you can see Stephen Cox with the same snake god. He's shown it as a feminine form. You can see that. This was done by Stephen Cox, and it was called the modern Indian version of Stephen Cox's work. But here you see, I think most of you must be knowing Venkata Chalapati sculpture. The Chalapati sculpture also, though he was inspired by Henry Moore, he just took the outer appearances of Henry Moore, the physicality of Henry Moore, but spiritually, he has shown the Nagadevata here in a different form. So you can see that evolution is something which has taken place in India also in a different way, which was not very much publicized in the West. Otherwise, we have done the extension, we have given the extension. So here, modern contemporary Indian art, Kalighat painting. Later what happened, since there was the threshold of modern art happening in the West, since that had started, so there, when the Impressionism and all these movements were just coming up, so all this Van Gogh and all these other artists were coming up. That time we also had the influence of the West. The British also were there. So only during that time the oil painting came up, and that's how Varma, the earlier paintings where I was showing here. See, Ravi Varma's painting is because the oil painting came from the Renaissance, after that the threshold of modern art. But since that was during Varma's period, Raja Ravi Varma's period, he did the Saraswati, Lakshmi and all that on the canvas. So then you can see from stone, we have come to the canvas. So that was the development which was occurring in India. And later what happened, you can see Varma also extended from there. He used to call himself Varma because he got inspired by Raja Ravi Varma. And then likewise, I have shown you the Bronze Age, where the sculpture has come from the Stone Age to the Bronze Age. So from the Bronze Age, we also got into the modernity, where the Kalighat painting started in West Bengal. It was called the bazaar painting or something like that. So that time the Pattachitra and all that was there. The Pichwai painting and all that was there, which they used in the temples. So this you can see a Kalighat style rural Bengal folk art Pattachitra. Just I'll have some water and come. Yeah, so this is the Pattachitra, the Kalighat painting, and then the Shantiniketan school. See, I am not going into the lives of the artists. That's a different thing. About explaining about who he was, what he was, where he was born. I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at that as not even at the historical point of view, because history is something. Art connected, how it is connected with art. That way I am seeing it. But if you have any questions, you can ask me. Personally, I wouldn't know anything about Abhindranath Tagore's life or what, where he was born, when he was born. Broadly, I can say. But you can see the influences from there, how the modern art started coming up. With the influence of the West, we gave an interpretation of the modern art. That's why we call it as contemporary Indian art, we call it. So Abhindranath Tagore's one of his paintings, and then this is Nandalal Bose. So they all belong to the Shantiniketan, that school of art which emanated after the Kalighat painting. It came into force in Shantiniketan. And then Rabindranath Tagore, Jamini Roy. They were all pioneers in the Indian contemporary art, who even now they are celebrated as some of the top artists, and their works are being sold in Sotheby's and Christie's and auctions and all that. So now, after that, you have the Baroda school. The Baroda school, when it started, they were called the group of painters who were the ideologists, the ideological group. In that, Bhupen Karkar, Vivan Sundaram, Sudhir Patwardhan, Jogen Chowdhury, all of them came from the Baroda school. The Baroda school mainly was figurative. So again, in figurative, they were doing portraits and other things. But when it came to expression of something, of a social narrative. They wanted to say something about society. It could be economical, political, social, or it could be scientific. So whatever it was, they wanted to express that in a figurative form. But so what happened is, in Baroda school, social narratives, when you say, here I am saying figurative abstraction is when the figures are there, it is abstracted, it's figurative abstraction. So semi-abstraction is the same as figurative abstraction, because when you call half abstract, semi is half. Arda abstract ide, arda figure ide anta, form ide. Abstraction is hidden within the form. So it becomes semi-abstract. Quasi is nothing but I am just playing with the English terminology. So quasi-abstraction, metaphors and abstraction is also the same. Metaphor is the symbolic meaning, metaphors, and then the abstraction is also metaphors support the abstractions. It explains how it has become abstract. So figurative abstractions, semi-abstractions, and quasi-allegoric compositions are one and the same. So how do these social narratives work? Let's see, Bhupen Karkar. Now Bhupen Karkar paints man eating jalebi. See, now you have to see the metaphor. Man is eating jalebi. Means man is always wants the sweet things in life, So he wants that enjoyment of sweet, something like that. He gives an inner meaning to it. The interpretation could be different. I could be looking at it in one way. You could be looking at it in a different way. That doesn't matter. But essentially what happened, the central subject or whatever the objective with which the artist did should be communicative to the audience. So this is very important. ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಅವನ ಮೂಗು, ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಅವನ ಕಾಲು, ಏನೇನೋ ತಗೊಂಡು ಒಂದು ಚೇರ್ ಹಾಕಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ದಟ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ the way you should go about art. When you are creating a work of art, you should be very serious about it. Because these pioneers, they achieved it, and in future generation, unless an artist, you don't worry about gallery, sale, all these are secondary. If you are worried about sale, your profession, your survival and all that, then you will go wrong with your art. The art is something, from here you have to learn your lessons. You have to learn that communication is very important. See, I don't know what idea Bhupen Karkar has had, but I think man is eating jalebi, so he must be fond of jalebi. And why he doesn't say woman eating jalebi? Because man must be more fond of entertainment and things like that, Even the discoveries, if you take the flying machines and all that, was created by George Stephenson, created engine, and then the Wright brothers, flying machines. So men was always into entertainment and liking sweet things and entertainment. So maybe in that context he drew it. So unless and until the audience, the painting, Bhupen Karkar is not there. Supposing I am Bhupen Karkar and I paint this, I am standing here, I am putting this picture, you are getting the communication. This is how it has to be. Any work, whether the times change, if the artificial intelligence is able to do that, it is great. That's why we call natural intelligence, is because we can think and do this. How far the artificial intelligence can do this is another thing, we don't have to worry about it. But as far as you are concerned, you have to completely concentrate and see. If it is conceptual, it is conceptual. It's visual, it's visual. If it's just optical, it's optical. So there are two things to art. One is your visual. Abstraction is visual. If you take geometrical abstraction, is visual. Victor Vasarely, he is visual. He creates those cubes and all that. Joseph Albers is visual. There are so many abstract artists in India who are visually, they'll say it's a visual expression. They won't say anything. It's an optical enjoyment. You have to see that and enjoy it as an optical image. That's all. The color and all that. Just like you go to a saree shop and then see a saree. You like the saree because of what it is, how you can attune with that saree, you buy that, isn't it? A shirt, for instance. If I like this blue, I take a blue. If I like a red, I take a red and black, I wear it. So that's individual taste, how they look at it. That's why somebody might like my abstraction, somebody may not like my abstraction. This is purely how the eye reacts to the color and all that. So here we are talking about only the semi-abstract. So you can see after man eating jalebi, there's one painting of Bhupan Karkar which says, Janata watch repairer. See what happens earlier, after the Congress government came, was thrown out and then the Janata Party came, you know. That time, these people, Baroda artists, they said now Congress is gone, Janata has come to repair the watch. So that's the meaning here. So it's a social narrative which has got a tint of political influence. See, an artist has got a free expression. He is interpreting and he stands between the society and the common people. I mean, the common people and the laity. He stands to explain a concept of what is happening. So, you know, they could do it for pleasure. And when they are doing it for pleasure also, they think about the social aspects, how they can reform the society. So these people, some of the artists were also consistently aiming at reforming the society, the grosser sensations. So that was also there. So Sudhir Patwardhan is another person also who came from the Baroda school, and he does about the social. See, you can see here, life is going unmindful. He is going on a scooter with his wife or someone like that, and then she is cooking, and then there's something that the other person at the balcony is just viewing things, and then there's somebody, each one of them is doing something, but they are unmindful of what is happening other. So he is shown some kind of movement in showing that individually there is kind of movement, but totally there's a kind of movement, but individually also there's a kind of movement. In totality, it makes an interesting picture. So here also same thing you see. It's a beautiful painting by Sudhir Patwardhan where he shows the mountain, the construction is going on. Here below this guy is discussing something. Each one of them are doing something. The life is going on. So how it's an expression of Indian life, how it is, how it's happening. And this is Ghulam Muhammad Sheikh's work. He is also from the Baroda school. Now, we look at the Western narratives. Now, how the West was looking at the, the semi-abstractions. Now, if you see the semi-abstractions in Western countries, now here you see painting, smoking, eating is by Philip Guston. Now, Philip Guston's work I saw in New York Museum of Modern Art, MoMA. So this work was half the size of this wall. But how did it get into the museum? How did the art historians put it into the museum is something is very interesting. See here what happens, here mic is getting connected when I speak. See here what is happening is, he says painting, smoking and eating. So he is painting, he is also smoking and he is eating. When he is painting, smoking and eating, what is missing? Can any one of you tell what is missing? Huh? Exactly. He is missing the sleep. So he is relentlessly working. He is painting, smoking and eating. In his personal life also, he was a very tormented person. He was into depression and all that. So here he is just looking, even while lying down, he is not getting sleep, but his eyes are open. Just this is the concept. So how well you how strong your concept and how well you handle the medium, which comes by practice. You go on painting and then you get into that practice. So even technique-wise, somebody else is unable to do the way that he does. Now even among us, what happens, supposing there's an artist who does something and I am unable to do something of that, that means to say it's a signature. That person's signature is not forgeable. It's like a bank check, I can't force somebody's signature and take out money. It becomes like that. So individually, each artist develops a kind of style or technique by which there is no one else can. He is not deliberately doing it, but it's coming from the inner self. When it comes from the inner self, he creates a mark on his painting. It's kind of signature impression he creates on his painting. Here, Philip Guston's idea of painting, smoking and eating is that which he had put in the museums. Now here you can see this is an installation done by Joseph Beuys. So Joseph Beuys says that it's a fat chair. Fat chair means he is also referring to some political person during that period. He must have been just corrupt and just eating, swallowing all the funds and all that. and he is fattened his belly, and but he is not doing anything to society. So he wants to show that. So it's a chair where somebody cannot sit. It is sliding down. It's like a sliding chair, and it's made of wax, which can melt. So it's a bee wax, it's a chair, so he calls it as a fat chair. So it has a metaphoric meaning. Therefore, an ordinary chair, if you see, if somebody paints an ordinary chair, you can give a certain interpretation saying that it's political chair or something you can say. But if it's just painted as a still life with some bottle and some books on top of it, it becomes just a still life. But when he puts the wax here, it becomes a metaphor. It's a metaphor to society. So there's a social narrative. So this last chapter, Mr. Prakash was dealing this in a very nice way with a stone, a glass of water, and some paper. So these three were taken, and he was explaining. That's why such talks, I'm really happy Mr. Sanjay Chapolkar is arranging such talks, because this is very informative. He takes great care to arrange this, so you people must come and hear. It will be continuously, some lectures will be going on. It will help you. So here what happens, you can see it's a metaphoric meaning, which has got the, so you can use either a metaphor or a symbol or anything like that, but here it's a metaphor to the chair is an individual metaphor, the wax is an individual metaphor, chair can be a political chair, wax is the person. So these two combined together becomes a gestalt. So this is how it works. Now this is one of Damien Hirst's sculptures. See, Indians also have done a lot of installations, but I didn't want to go too many, I didn't want to take, because it will take a lot of time. I could be talking the whole day about installations. So installations we could have another day. Like I went to this Whitney Museum in New York. This is a museum where only the blacks exhibit. The African Americans, they exhibit. It's especially for them. I went upstairs, there's no lift, and I went to the second floor where there was a plate rotating. There's a huge hall, double this size. There was a plate rotating like this, and on top of the plate there was a house. And the doors and windows were kept open, and they were all banging. So when the plate rotates, the whole structure, the whole house was tilting, banging, doors and all that. That is, he says, probably that is, no house is stable. There are a lot of problems all the time. So no house stands stable. We see a house as a stable house, but he's seeing it as a catastrophe. He's seeing it as a thunderstorm or something like that. So all the doors and windows are banging and nobody can stay in that house. This is his metaphor. It's an installation. So the message might be very simple. The way he puts it, is very powerful. So you get the message directly by seeing. So this kind of installations are conceptual. So you can have either a conceptual or visually pleasing, which may not convey anything, but it can be a visual-oriented installation, which you enjoy it for its structure or its beauty. That's it. Aesthetically, you enjoy that. So this is Damien Hirst. He puts a shark into a small, you can see it's a small fish tank, because a huge fish tank can be, you can compare that lady standing there, so it must be a 6-foot installation, this one. I saw this work also in Chicago Museum, the Fine Arts Institute, Chicago Institute of Art. This is what happens when you put such a huge shark, which is swimming in the ocean freely. It's got freedom, and it's no questions asked. It's swallowing other smaller fish and all that. It's enjoying its livelihood in a sea. It's in a natural boundless space. So what happens if you put somebody into the boundary? You put this person, he has put this fish into a confinement, into a confined space. When you put the fish into a confined, it starts wriggling. It wants to break the glass and come, but it's unable to come. So he calls this as physical impossibility of death for a mind that is alive. The mind of the fish is alive, but it cannot die. It wants to die, but it can't get out. So also the other version is, death is impossible for a mind that is alive. So the other version of it is, death is impossible for a mind that is alive. So a physical impossibility of death is alive is by Damien Hirst, who did this work. So this is an installation. So installation is, now you have to understand one thing, that why is installation becoming so popular? Now I see here also in Sumuka Gallery, lot of installation artists are coming and exhibiting there. Is because there is a slow transformation. See, it was a stone age, and as Mr. Prakash was explaining, the caveman, the Neanderthal man, Cro-Magnons, and the Paleolithic to Neolithic period, things changed. They had the stone, and then the Bronze Age came. And after the Bronze, the Iron Age came. Iron was not much in use because of the heavy objects, but here and there, little bit it was used in temples and all that. But what happens after this thing, we started getting stainless steel, and then all other material, found objects, and then we used polyurethane foam, and then POP, plaster of Paris, and then even fiberglass and all that. So now what happens, due to the technological advancement, because we say, as Michael Schufer says, the dizzying pace of technological and scientific advancement in this century has given rise to an art that faithfully reflects its spirit, he says. And also, Matisse says, we are born with the sensibility of a given epoch of civilization. We are not masters of what we produce. It is imposed on us. Because when steel was there, steel is imposing itself. Fiberglass is imposing itself. When bronze was there, bronze was imposing, and you are creating during that period. So epoch making is nothing but, now why all of you are painting? Why, if supposing Pablo Picasso was doing all Tanjavur paintings, how would that be? So Pablo Picasso did not do some Tanjavur painting, no? See, because of Pablo Picasso, Cubism came, and post-Cubist aesthetics got into everybody. And even today, many artists are using post-Cubist aesthetics. It's because it's imposed on them. That period culture is imposed. That's why he says, it's epoch making. Therefore, he says, we are born with the sensibility of a given epoch of civilization. We are not masters of what we produce. It is imposed on us. So this is, I'll go to the next. See here, for the love of God, Damien Hirst. He did this skull where he is embedded all the most costliest diamonds. It's one of the $1 million babies of his. So the thing is here, God, you have given me this head. This head you have created, it's a wonderful head. What can I give you back? I put the time and studied it. See what I can give you. He gives it back to God in love. So it's for the love of God, Damien Hirst. So this even is an installation. It may be a small one, but it's considered as an installation rather than artwork. But semi-abstraction is there. When I am giving an explanation, I am able to get that message from there. The message is complete. The work of art, from the artwork, it becomes a work of art. The work of art, the very purpose of work of art is to communicate to the viewer whatever the artist wants to express. It should be clearly communicated on to the viewer. With that idea, even the students, you have to work with that kind of thing. It can be, that's why I said if it is conceptual, you have to give more thought to it. And instead of, I've seen some exhibitions here when we go and stand near a painting, immediately the artist comes running and says, sorry, this. You don't have to explain at all. The painting has to speak. The more we stand and try to explain, that means we know that the person is not understanding about the painting. We have to tell him something. But as far as possible, artists should not rush through works. They should wait and do. Once they achieve that professionalism, then you can create any number of work. Automatically, anything evolves. Even your work evolves. The turnover, Picasso never created 70,000 works when he was 10 years old. Though at the age of 12, he could paint like Rembrandt and Raphael, So so in art, you have to be slow, work out the method of how to do what. That is very important. The purpose of showing all these documents and then talking about it is not just to show my ability of what I know, but it's for the students and future artists and also the public to understand the right perspective with which and temperament, spirit with which art was created. This is one of my work where I did this long back, and I call this aggregate. I got inspired by Joseph Beuys. Head and aggregate. See, this is something where I saw a few years back that something is going to endanger the earth. And then the COVID came. You can say almost that COVID type of this I did somewhere in 2008. But somewhere I thought that earth is going to get endangered. So I wired the earth, and you can see the wire and then the skull. So humans are endangering themselves with something. The earth is going to turn against the human. So that is the thing. So, you know what happens, at what level you do is a different thing. Whether the museums accept your work or not is a different thing. Whether somebody buys it or not is different. But your concept should be what you, based on how much you studied it. Now, I'm not going to go into too much of details. The Tantric art also, which started from Bhopal and all these places. The Tantric art where you will see a lot of Indian artists who did Tantric art like Biren De, G.R. Santosh and all that. So they came from the Tantric school. Tantric is mostly based on the Atharva. That's the source where the Tantric images started coming. And people had a curiosity about what this Tantric is. What is Tantra? Tantra, what is Tantra? Yantra means it is machinery. So mantra is the what you pronounce and all that. Like I said, you know, your pronunciation should be perfect. Prachodayat, they say, no, that has to be pronounced properly. So the mantra, tantra, and yantra. The tantric artists use the tantra, and they developed from there. So we had the tantric art coming up in different forms. So you can see here Birende's earlier work, which has that red and then the tantric images, you know, the symbols and all that, in which you can see one of G.R. Santosh's work. I'll quickly go through that because you can see that he is in meditation, the chakras are there and all that, you know. So he is trying to touch another dimension of the super consciousness. This is K.V. Haridasan. He was in Cholamandal Artist Village. He was also teaching at, he was the principal of, you know, in Travancore, one of the colleges, College of Art in Kerala. He was, and then this is K.C.S. Manikar, who founded the Cholamandal Artist Village. He was also from Kerala, and he developed this Tantric art. So his way of expressing the Tantric art. So you can see one more K.C.S. Manikar here. And this is, if you take the Tantric again in Western thing, in my next chapter, when I talk about pure abstraction, the spiritual in art and abstract painting from 1890 to 1985, when I speak about it, and the host of Indian artists as well as American abstract artists, right from Pete Mondrian, Kandinsky to Pollock, and the host of American abstract artists, including Rothko, Clifford Still, and all that. That I will deal with the pure abstract in my next chapter. But here you can see Max Ernst. Even Max Ernst is something like Tantric. He says, of this men shall know nothing. So you get some kind of communication where you use the female and male form and, you know, the hand. So you gather something which he says that men shall not know about it. So this is also a kind of Tantric art which emanated there. And why it emanated in US is next chapter I will tell. But just to show you during this, the Western thing, I just put it aside. So after that, you can see there is a certain amount of geometry in this. You can see the squares, the triangles and all that. So geometric abstraction came, it evolved from semi-abstraction, it came to geometrical abstraction, where, you know, a lot of geometrical, I have put some of my works also. This is Raza's work. So you can see it's an abstraction, but he has used a certain geometry in it, where Bindu or what I didn't have the title for this, but you can see the triangles and his kind of work. A very accomplished artist. This is one of my work, which is geometric, and also one more of my work. And this is Pete Mondrian. You must have heard of Pete Mondrian. He started with this. His ideology of how the philosophy of Pete Mondrian, I'll deal with it next time, where he thought that there is only two elements to the abstraction, that is the perpendicular and the horizontal. So perpendicular is male and the horizontal is the female. So based on that, he structured that. And he was, whoever opposed to that, he was not friendly with them. So he held on to this. Later, he used all these forms, but when he structured the philosophy and started the style, the movement called the style, with Theo van der Berg, they fell apart because Theo van der Berg gave a slant, 45-degree slant, and it was not agreeable with him, so that group collapsed later. So I'll come to that later, but Piet Mondrian, just to show the geometry, how it developed, I just wanted to show this. Again, Piet Mondrian, you can see. So there you see only vertical and horizontal lines. There are no angular lines. Only after he joined with Theo van der Berg, he created an angular. He didn't accept, but Theo van der Berg was thrown out of the style movement. This is Joseph Albers. Joseph Albers just kept to study the intensity of the colors, how the colors interplayed with themselves and created a kind of dimension. So Joseph Albers created the square in square. Many series he created. He experimented with different colors, and he wanted to see how it creates a peculiar dimension when one color is placed on the other. Now, for instance, if you place red on black, the intensity is the same. That's why in a dark room they use the red light, because the intensity of black and red is the same intensity, produces color-wise. But in the light, black light cannot come. So they use the red light so that when they expose, it doesn't permit the light to penetrate through the negatives. So you can see here. Even here, what happened, the red square, he has muted it with the little, pink shades. He has mixed white, and then he has not used only the red, but he has used the other colors. Now, again, installation, this is during the pop. This is also a semi-abstract. Now, why he made it pop is because Andy Warhol, when people said, why don't you do something which people can understand? Then he made a Campbell tomato soup can he made. And then he made the Coca-Cola cans, Coca-Cola one. Now people also, kid can say, Daddy, this is Coca-Cola. So the public could recognize that element of it, but he made it into an artwork. A advertising guy will make a Coca-Cola differently, but when Andy Warhol made a Coca-Cola can, it was millions of dollars because he created that as an artwork, work of art, not an artwork. So this is the balloon. This guy is, Jeff Koons is also an American installation artist. He recently had a show, I had seen his show called Jeff Koons on the Rooftop. Means he is in the height, Jeff Koons is on the rooftop, means he is in the highest level. Of the pop artists, he was very popular then. He was creating even the ceramic sculptures of Michael Jackson and all that. But this he calls as balloon dog. You can make out that he has assembled the balloons and made it a dog. It's a poodle. So any child looks at it, they'll say, oh, this is poodle. Mom, this is a poodle. So they make that even a kid can understand the art. So popular art became that famous that it came into as an installation. But whereas during Andy Warhol's period, Andy Warhol didn't, I think he never created installations during his time. But when it came to this steel age, then Jeff Koons created this, like Anish Kapoor. I don't know if I have a picture of Anish Kapoor. I don't have. Anish Kapoor has created this big bean in Chicago Art Institute. It's there. So that's just how the entire Chicago city is reflected in it. So he called it as a cloud gate. Cloud gate means the clouds are creating a gate through Chicago, through US. So something like that he created. Optically, he created a huge balloon, which looks like a bean. You can go underneath, you can go through the bean actually. Many of you who went to Chicago must have seen it. This is pure abstract, chapter 2. So I come to pure abstract, chapter 2. This is the next chapter. So please ask any questions if you have. It's 11:15, sir. So any questions are there? Abstraction, next chapter I'll do. So please don't ask me anything about abstraction like somebody doodles, what is it, it's abstraction and all that. I'll answer in the next time. But presently, whatever you have in relation to semi-abstraction, you can ask me, or anything you would like to clarify, I would be happy to clarify that.
Thank you for the wonderful session. So here we are novices. We are not art, uh, we don't know how to understand art, and we have come here to learn from you. You showed a lot of artworks where you have gone and seen in different areas of the world. You showed your art too. This is an opportunity for us to understand from the artist, that is you. You are here with us. So can you explain more about that piece of art that you have created? It will give us an insight into what an artist has thought. We may not be able to go abroad, we may not be able to go to art exhibition and ask the artist or see the art. This is our little world where we have come here to you to understand art. So can you please explain the slide where you had shown your artwork?
Yeah. Now, see, actually in this, my representation also has been shown. Like in geometrical abstraction, what I have shown the geometrical abstractions done by Raza, for instance, in India, and I have said about geometrical abstractions abroad also, right? And when you come to, semi-figuration, I showed you one work of mine which had the head, and I called it as head and aggregate, right? So what happens even when I show in US or anywhere, they also react to my work similarly as we react to the work there. So as an example, I've shown you here. But if you ask me personally all that my travel and what I have done, I think I should do that in another chapter, if you don't mind. I'll do it in some other chapter where I can project my work and show where I have traveled. Very importantly, I will show, which will be quite educative, and then you could shoot questions to me and ask me personally what was my experience about it, because I have tons of experience about that. So I can talk about that, yes. Yeah, not at all.
So another the physical impossibility of the depth, the work you showed. Is it the photography or else the painting?
Which one?
The one marker, she showed about
Death is physically impossible for a mind that is alive.
photograph or else the painting.
That's a photograph of the installation.
Okay.
See, supposing if this is the installation, I have taken a picture of that and I am projecting it. So that's an installation which was there. The several museums have collected his work, because every museum asks him, our museum wants one. So he makes one more, gives it a different title. That's what I was telling you. Physical impossibility of the death for a mind that, somebody asked, he said death is physically impossible for a mind that is alive. So he gave two versions of that. So he could make several versions. It's like a printmaking. See, in printmaking also, supposing the edition is done, you could make a limited edition, you can go up to a higher edition. So each print can be given to somebody else. So even installation, that possibility is there.
Should be out of context.
Yes, sir.
Something, I hope everybody can understand. Recently there was something which made big news. One artist pasted a banana.
Yeah.
And then does it fall into semi-abstract or pure abstract? Why was it so famous?
See, the thing is, what happens, see, it's based on the concept of the artist again. See, I can put a picture of a tube here. There's a painting actually like that. Sometimes I forget the names of artists. He's put a pipe and he said, this is not a pipe. So I could fix a banana and say, this is a banana. Or I could put a picture of a banana and say, this is not a banana. So it's just the idea that gains value in the painting, and how the art historians are looking at it. Otherwise, in the name of art, anything can be created. But it doesn't mean to say that artists can have their freedom. It falls into the parameter of the artistic purview. They have to attain a certain level to create that dimension of the thing. So what happens, even an artwork can be very simple. How the public react to it. The public reacted very positively towards it. So how you concept anything is how people take it as it. Sometimes the concept might be very weak. It may not be acceptable to people. So it depends on the strength of the work also. So he could say this is a banana and put it there. That is it. See, there are artists who put, for instance, there are artists who put, there's one artist who put completely in a bottle, his society message was everything is shit. So he put in pencil in bottle shit actually and said this is shit. So it's what the artist communicates. Sometimes, they even, there's one artist who put actually the cross into a urine trough, and then he put that. But even Damien Hirst, he took one of the sheep or something into an helicopter and he cut it. The sheep crashed and fell. Now in society, all of them went to court also. Somebody said he is so inhuman, he is not an artist. He took the cow in a helicopter and cut it. And then it fell down and crashed down. But when he was taken to the court, how many million buffaloes you are slaughtering in US? Are they not animals? So when it comes to life, when I make it public there, you are screaming. But when you are slaughtering so many animals, is that not slaughter, he said. So an artist is trying to pass a message in his own way. Each artist has got a method of passing this message. It could have a social connotation, it could be philosophical, it could be spiritual, it could be emotional, it could be scientific, it could be anything, any damn thing it could be. But it could be silly also to somebody, it could be bewildering to somebody, So, but then the sensibility is such. Yeah. Stephen Cox. Yeah. See, the thing is, spirituality, our way of looking is totally different. ನಾವು ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿ ವರ್ಷಿಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ, that's totally different. The way spirituality, we look at it, how we go to the ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನ ಕಣ್ಣು ಮುಚ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀವಿ. When ಮಂಗಳಾರತಿ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ we are doing this. No? We are not closing the eyes in respect. We are doing this because we want to see the beyondness. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ದೇವ್ರು ನೋಡೋಕೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು we are seeing that. But Westerners also may do it in front of Jesus Christ and all that. That's a different thing. Spirituality is the awareness. I mean, how conscious you are and how you are. So that awareness in our Hindu philosophy, I mean Indian iconography or Hindu philosophy, it's a totally different thing from the West. Now what has happened, Stephen Cox came to Chennai and he started working. He went to all these Meenakshi temple, Tanjore painting. He started observing. He probably saw the oil trickling on the stone. So he created the textural value between the raw stone and the oil slick stone. And he created this black, and he is the first person who did that. That way he gave an extension to that. He created 4 heads, one with the nose, one with the ears. It's right now in the British Council in Chennai. So they gave him an International Trinale Award in Pragati Maidan in one of our shows. But that one is an extension he has given. But here he has not given it with an extension. He has changed the form. He may not be knowing the entire things about the Indian spirituality as we know. We are more into it, our ancestral thing, it has come through us, but we can't expect them to know it. But what he has done is he has dealt with the form like that. See, our snake goddess is what we created, the snake goddess. So Nagadevata anta kariತೀವಿ. Adanna he has used the snake form and the feminine form he has taken, which has nothing to do with, you can connect it spiritually and say, but he has just said that it is an extension from Indian art I have taken and given a Western meaning to it, Western extension, and called it simply modern Indian. That's it.
I don't see it as an extension because any Ketu structure, it is a
Yeah. See, this is actually he gave an extension. I was telling her, the first work which he did was an extension. Because the texture of the stone, whatever it may be technical or it's normally seen as technical by the art historians. So that stone texture, adenaitu enne inge suriyuttalla, so it created that black. Nam Indians yaru nodilla adanna. So they made only stone alli ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋದ್ರು. ಈವನ್ ಈಗ ನಮ್ಮವರು ಚಲಪತಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರಲ್ಲ, ಅವರು ದೇ ಆರ್ ಟೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲೂಯೆನ್ಸ್. ಹಿ ಪುಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಟ್ರಿನಾಲೆ. ಸೊ ಸ್ಕಲ್ಪ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೋಗಿ ನೋಡಿದವರು, ಈ ಪಾಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ದೇ ಇಂಟ್ರಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ದಟ್ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಟೋನ್. ಸೊ ಆ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಟೋನ್ನ ಇವರೇ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು. ಅದನ್ನು ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ಸ್, ವಿ ಅವರ್ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್, ಅವರ್ ಜೂರೀಸ್, ಅವರ್ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್, ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ರೆಕಗ್ನೈಸ್ಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಗಿವನ್ ಹಿಮ್ ಅನ್ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಟ್ರಿನಾಲೆ ಅವಾರ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ 1978. ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಗಿವನ್ ಹಿಮ್.
ಸರ್, ಇದು ಮ್ಯಾಗ್ರಿಟ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ ಅಲ್ಲ, ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಎ ಪೈಪ್, ಮ್ಯಾಗ್ರಿಟ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅಂದರೆ ಸರು ಹೋದ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ, ಟೈಟ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಎಂಟ್ರ್ ಆಯಿತು ಕಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ? ಟೈಟ್ಲ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಾಗ ಅದರದ್ದು ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣತೆ, ಈಗ ದಿಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ದ ಪೈಪ್ಗೆ ಆ ಟೈಟ್ಲೇ ಒಂದು ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದಂಥ ಪಾತ್ರವನ್ನು ವಹಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಪ್ಲೇಯಿಂಗ್ ಎ ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ರೋಲ್ in the abstraction or perception of the art alva. So from when the titling of the art came, so title ಇದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಆರ್ಟ್ ಕಲಾಕೃತಿಗೆ ಈ ಹೆಸರು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ, from when it started?
See, the title ಅನ್ನೋದು incidentally it comes into the art. It comes into the art ಅಂದರೆ ನೀವು ಈವನ್ ಪ್ರಿಯಸ್ಟ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಇವಾಗ ಆದಿಶೇಷ ಅಂತಾರೆ, ನರಸಿಂಹ ಅಂತಾರೆ, ನರಸಿಂಹ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ನರಸಿಂಹ ಅಂತ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರಲ್ಲ, ನಾರಸಿಂಹ. ಸೊ ನಾರಸಿಂಹ ಇಸ್ half lion and half. So he does that, on the steps he does that ಇದು. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಸ್, ನಾರಸಿಂಹ ಅಂತ ಟೈಟ್ಲ್ ಕೊಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಆ ಟೈಟ್ಲ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಆ ಇಮೇಜ್ಗೆ, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟಾನ್ಶಿಯೇಟ್ಸ್ ದಿ ಇಮೇಜ್. ಹೌದು. ಹ್ಞೂ 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 ಹಾಂ. That's why I was telling them that they have to think and do it. See, that is the reason. Sometimes what happens when the artist is not conclusive about the title, he says untitled. Untitled, and the Western countries also, there's unit title, something they put that. So because they are unable to give a title to it, there's no title to it. Yeah, composition. So he leaves it to the viewer to decide whatever they want. But where the artist wants to make it conclusive, they want to bring a connectivity to the title and the picture, he says, or somebody wants to create a pun or a kind of mystery into it, he says, supposing he puts a pipe and leaves it there, it is nothing without the title. So sometimes a title becomes mandatory in certain cases.
Anybody else? Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hariram sir, for
Thank
this
you, sir.
informative and educative session on semi-abstractions. And this is the first lecture on this series. The second lecture will be after one fortnight. We'll once again give you the dates. We'll intimate you about that one. So here we come to the end of today's session. And on behalf of Indian Institute of World Culture, I thank you all for coming. Thank you, Hariram sir. Thank you, Prakash sir, Jairam sir, for attending this. And thank you all. So please join us for the tea. And we'll end this session today. Thank you. Thank you so much.